Hello, and welcome to another episode of Breaking Through in Cybersecurity Marketing. I am your co-host, Jana Whitver. Maria can't make it today, but we do have an amazing guest. We have Kevin Scott, Chief Technology Officer and Chief Information Officer at PGA of America. Also a self-proclaimed unconventional CTO, CIO, which we'll get into, an AI engineer, customer fanatic, board member of Tech Titans and Tech Hub South Florida, and has had an amazing, illustrious career, a very interesting guy. Kevin, thank you so much for being on today.
Oh, happy to be here, John.
Yay. Okay. You work at a really cool organization. You work at PGA of America. But when we talked on our scoping call, there was some differences between PGA of America and PGA Tour. So to set the stage here, what is PGA of America? What org are you working at?
In the US, at least, we tend to be exposed to basically two different PGAs. Most people, even if you're deep in golf, don't really understand the difference. And for many, many decades, we actually were the same organization. But nowadays, the PGA Tour is what you will see when you turn on the TV on the weekends and you're watching the golf show. And then the PGA of America, which is the organization I'm part of, we have major events in championship golf, namely the Ryder Cup, the Women's PGA Championship, the Men's PGA Championship, and the Senior PGA Championship, a bunch of others that aren't just quite focused on spectators. So we kind of have this high-end spectator golf. But the reason that the PGA of America exists is for 30,000 men and women who make their living by working in the golf industry. So we're actually a member-based trade association, not for profit. And so we put a lot of our emphasis. And as we have this conversation, you'll probably hear me talk about our members. So those are 30,000 men and women. They're dues-paying members of the PGA of America. And many folks have been kind of attracted to the golf industry because in many cases, like one of their parents was, or a grandparent had worked in golf. So a lot of PGA professionals are actually multi-generational members. It's a big deal. It's a lot of work to become a PGA professional. So we're incredibly happy to support them.
Oh, that's awesome. What do you mean it's a lot of work to become a PGA professional?
It takes years of training, apprenticeship, coursework. And in fact, you can there's sort of two different ways to become a PGA member. I won't go into the details of it, but that includes one of the paths is that you can actually go and you can get a college degree with basically a minor in PGA. It's not exactly right, but it's that kind of thing. So yeah, there's a bunch of universities that you can participate in.
That is so cool. So like pipeline into the golf industry, certifications, courses, sounds very familiar to some of the stuff here in cybersecurity member-based orgs that offer training and courses and career opportunities. Cool. So when you think of nonprofit, you don't think of a lot of resources. You don't think of a lot of headcount. Tell us about your team. You had a team of folks who are working on the IT and the technology for PGA. Tell us about the team. Like, what does that look like that you feel comfortable sharing?
PGA, it's a complicated organization. We actually have many dozens of regional, what we call PGA sections. And if you're involved with the PGA as a member, very likely you'll be involved with your local PGA section. And then we have the national organization, which is what I'm part of. And from a cyber and technology standpoint, we actually provide kind of all the technology inclusive of all the local organizations as well, even though they're technically separate companies. We're all called PGA and we are interested in the same members. So we do share as well things like cyber insurance and our identity systems and things like that. The national organization that I'm part of, like I said, is it's a few hundred people. And the technology part of that is different than most nonprofits. And it's different from most sports organizations. For starters, it's not small. We have, depending how you count it, 40 to 50 people.
Whoa!
And some of those are full-time employees, direct. Some of them are individual people who live and work on a mountaintop, or a small number of folks overseas. But we kind of have cobbled together this pretty curated and deliberately chosen team of people. And part of the thing that makes it different from a lot of organizations is that we have in our team in technology, you're basically either a product manager, a designer, or a software engineer. And a lot of the sports organizations and nonprofits don't have software engineers, for example.
Why do you need software engineers?
We build a lot of stuff.
Okay. This is off script. What are some of the things that you built? I'm so curious.
So just running the organization, we build a number of apps and websites. We have a lot of data plumbing and ETL pipelines. But the thing that I really enjoy about having software engineers in our team is that it means that we're not beholden to whatever a vendor has exactly available. So if you have a vendor that provides a triangle and somebody else who provides a circle, if you don't have the ability to stitch those things together, then you're just going to be stuck with two things that don't fit nicely. When you have software folks, we can sort of make up the gaps. We can also understand, well, maybe we don't even need both of these things. And it helps us to be smarter shoppers because we know that, well, obviously we kind of like had our hands into things and you can make up the difference. By the way, in cyber, again, as a customer, it seems very easy to overbuy. And so like there are a bunch of overlapping products. And so it helps us to be more savvy about how we purchase those things, not just in cyber, but across a lot of different areas.
Yeah, because again, as a nonprofit, I know it's a trade org, it's a membership-based community. And you just said you have like a 50-person team, so resourced in some way, but at the same time, you have to be aware and conscious of the spending that you're spending.
Very much so, yeah.
Yeah, I assume that. So what is your role like? Because you have you have this like super interesting team and you were a VP of product as well in the past. So this sort of all syncs that you're like also running like the software engineers and stuff. So what do you do at the org? Like Kevin, like you?
By the way, I am a little bit biased towards software people because like I've been writing software since I was 5 years old. And my role in particular, so, we run the company. So some of it is dedicated to company-wide decision-making and looking at things there. But specifically, the part of the organization that I take care of is all things sort of inwardly focused, which is kind of my CIO hat. And then a number of things that are focused around digital revenue and digital products and experiences that we create that are external focused. Sort of CTO aspect of it. It's cyber and cloud and IT. It's apps and websites and databases and our help desk, all kinds of different things. And that applies, this wouldn't be obvious, I guess, but because our company has sort of purpose things around our members as well as spectator golf, it means that our own interests are as varied as like help desk, infrastructure, cyber, and like taking care of the Ryder Cup and making sure that event runs correctly in terms of connectivity and scoring and routing data out to ESPN, to CBS and NBC. And it's a pretty wide range of different things that we end up having to cover. But I think for our conversation today, a lot of it's actually not going to be super golfy. A lot of it should be applicable to, it's just enterprisey stuff. We just happen to be in golf.
That's fun. So we run a community. The Cybersecurity Marketing Society is a community. We're not a non-for-profit, but we have members and then we do events. We have media, we travel and we do events. So there's so much pieces involved. We haven't built any software yet. I'll come and I'll ask you about that in the future one day, but so many pieces involved that you have to have, I'm guessing this is not just, hey, we like make irons. I don't know why I picked that. We make irons or we make a stove or we make, not that that's not complicated in its own way, right? There's so many pieces, but you have so many almost like stakeholders is what I'm saying here. And so many like things that you're doing. You're like supporting the marketing with PGA, internal, external. You're supporting the tech that you guys have built. You're supporting making sure that golf things happen. It's so interesting. It's fun.
We have partnerships. And so we're doing kind of advertising and promotions and content. So it covers a lot of different areas. Yeah. We have e-commerce because we sell tickets to the PGA Championship and the Ryder Cup. A lot of pieces in the puzzle.
Media, sports, e-commerce, everything. Very cool. Okay, so you own all that IT infrastructure, cyber infrastructure, tech infrastructure, like everything. But you guys do something different. And we had a really fun chat on our pre-call about this, about your philosophy on cybersecurity and how you've decided to switch up things at PGA of America. Walk us through the journey and tell us the cyber story of PGA of America.
So I've been here for 8 years, and like a lot of organizations, you bring somebody in fresh from the outside, they're going to new sheriff the whole thing and try to make a difference. And so 8 years ago when I came in, I mentioned to you that I'm a software person. And when I joined the organization, if I'm honest, I didn't know anything about IT. And the big listed companies that I'd worked for previously, I was kind of a victim of IT, and it was this sort of oppressive, faceless thing that means you can't do what you want to do on your computer, right?
Really? Okay. That's interesting that you. So wait, can we just back up a step then? How did you get this role if you had no IT experience?
Because I know it's software and technology, and
there you go. It's like a learnable thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And honestly, like the job was basically to take a tech and a digital organization that needed to come together, bring them together, make it make sense, modernize, a number of things there. But in fact, it was probably 2 years into the job before I ever even heard the term digital transformation. But that's exactly what it ended up being. It was new to me. Your question is kind of about the cyber journey. The story kind of shows something about being the dumbest person in the room. And so I was that guy. About a year into the job, we got ransomware the first time in the company's like 100 years.
Yikes. 12 months in, hit by ransomware.
Yeah. And up until that point, there was somebody on the team who said, my job is to keep us out of the papers. Okay, that sounds good. So I guess we're good. Totally naive. And we got ransomware, and it was just the right amounts of ransomware where, to kind of jump ahead in the story, we ended up being able to get lots of support from the board of directors. It shook everybody just enough that it became a great way to increase the priority, and everyone was interested in doing the right things there without sinking the company. And it wasn't terribly costly. After we came out of the remediation, we got like organization that I've ever been part of. You do some kind of post-mortem and understand what happened. And so we gathered up a bunch of long-term friends, and it turns out when you have a ransomware event, you make new friends. So all of a sudden we had all these new friends, and we got everybody together, and we went off-site at a golf course, of course. We just started saying like, what happened? And like a 5-year-old, you just keep saying why? And one of the things that came out is that in this ransomware had gone after Active Directory. And it's not uncommon. It's incredibly common.
For the listeners, a lot of our listeners are marketers. Many of us know what Active Directory is, but for those who don't, can you explain, like I'm 5, what is Active Directory and how did they get access to it?
The way I explain it to my daughter is that she has an email address at school, and there's some system that keeps track of everyone's email address, and something that says that hers is a student, not a teacher. And that means that she gets access to some things and not another.
Exactly. So it is like access based on email identity, right? You could say.
In our case, yeah.
Keys to the kingdom.
It is kind of the center of the world. I mean, if you think about like all the things that depend on that, who is who and who should have access to what and when and that kind of thing. Yeah, it's super important.
Yeah. Who gets to see the financials? Who gets to access that folder? Who gets to do what? Exactly.
Yeah. And because that has access to all the different things, it's a great path for malware to spread. Anyhow, so we were talking about this situation in the golf course offsite. So it does these things, but why is it the way that it is? And for example, in our case, why is it vulnerable? Why does everybody access it through a VPN? And why is it located on-prem and all this kind of thing? It seems really important. So tell me more about it. And they did, and it seems really important. But the problem is that malware wants to go after it. So is there any world where you just eliminate it and you can't attack something that doesn't exist? And of course, everybody laughed because it was a pretty stupid thing to say. But the idea kind of like lingered. And by the end of the day, the laughing was gone. And sort of like, that's an insane idea. But actually, yeah, you could run the company without AD. And in fairness, it's not really about AD. It's about rethinking how you plumb it into your company. And so, for example, I think the rest of the story, you could actually have Azure AD or something like that running and do the same tricks. But if we speed up a bit, we now don't have Active Directory. We don't have 365. We don't have Windows servers. We don't have any Microsoft technology. All of our identity is done through Okta. The key there being like it's cloud-based. So you don't need a VPN to access. So we no longer have site-to-site VPNs for the 50 or so different facilities that we have. And as all of these pieces started to vanish, but we don't have any data centers. So we closed down 3 data centers, moved everything to the cloud. And as that happened, we started to treat all of our different facilities as though, like you kind of start to treat every device like it's polluted, and you treat every connection like it's untrusted. So if you design for the least common denominator, where we have gotten to is we now no longer have a corporate network. So everything is MFA, everything is SSO, everything's through the cloud, and there's no difference if you're accessing it from inside of our headquarters or if you're 30,000 feet.
That's a big transformation. So explaining like I'm 5 again, because there's a lot of 5-year-olds here. How does that change the experience for like the user, for someone who's trying to log in to like their email, for example?
All of our employees have SSO and MFA. So everybody has a app, which means we kind of skip over text message as a second factor. And we're on our way towards passwordless. Not quite there yet, but you can see you keep kind of trying to move things forward. So where we're at today is that everybody has credentials that they come in with, but tend to not need very often. And part of this is that because we're a nonprofit, like we don't have a lot of resources, it means that I don't have the money to be able to get good at building up this type of thing, which is why we have to go to someone like an Azure AD or an Okta or some identity provider that thinks about these problems all day long, and they think about how to like get to passwordless. They think about how to move away from text messages bearer to app based and things like that. I could never afford to develop that myself, but it's like one of the gambles we've had to take.
Right. It's like you were saying before, like we have software engineering resources, and that's a great way to save money, but not in this spot, because this is something that takes someone like full-time, dedicated, like a team, to think about what's the future of passwordless MFA authentication, and how can we always be thinking about hardening and protecting against threats. Because when you were telling me this, I was thinking about the big Uber breach that happened because of MFA fatigue, of just someone sending to a user like, let me in, let me in, let me in, like a million times while they were trying to sleep. You remember that, right? How do you think about protecting against these sort of things that are maybe a little bit more, like risk is concentrated a little bit more on the user?
We also wire up our systems to help to prevent that kind of thing. So for example, our password policy is very human friendly, and it doesn't require people to keep bumping up the last digit of their password by one. It doesn't force people into situations where they're going to not be able to remember. So where we do need passwords, we use the password manager that everybody has. So people know how to use the Verify app for MFA. Mm-hmm. They know how to use the password manager. It also means we allow people to do what's sort of makes sense for them, and have built the systems to be smart. Like the best technology is the one that disappears. It hides behind the scenes to make sure that people aren't getting the fatigue that you're talking about. In this case, like Okta helps us there to make sure that people aren't just getting pegged by those things until they give up. And so that automatically starts to block those.
Last question on this before we move into our talking about this RFP that you guys are doing that is so interesting, and I'm so excited to hear about. Future of identity is a big talking point for a lot of folks, and especially in the space as people move away from passwords and move towards passwordless and towards biometric and all this interesting future sort of cool stuff that's happening. And I think it's cool. I'm just a layperson and I think it's neat. What do you think about the future of identity, which is such a vague, big question? And I always do that to guests, and they're like, why am I on here? Yeah. They're like, Gianna, stop asking me these dumb, big questions.
I have to probably go back to being the dumb guy. I don't know the answer to that. I'm quite inspired by how much progress has been made just in terms of what you can accomplish with Face ID. So people who interact with the web and computers and things like that, just society, it's become normal. And so if you think back, like pre-COVID, video calls weren't as normal as they were during and after. MFA coming on the scene, like people understand the concept of grabbing a code, putting it in. We've made a lot of progress, not only having a app for people to verify their access, but things like Face ID that help to make that simpler, faster, more secure, biometrics, that kind of thing. So I don't know that that's exactly the only future, but I like how much progress has been made to date. And part of that is that I like the technology that's advanced, but I also really like the fact that people have just gotten used to that. And it's not a hurdle anymore. My 92-year-old father is getting into his bank because he's using MFA.
It's crazy. I just moved to iPhone, and having Face ID is like insane. It's just insane. To me, it's like I live.
Insane good?
It's good, but it's also scary, and it's also like we live in the future. And I'm waiting to see what beyond that holds. That'll be really cool. All right, so now we're going to talk about something really cool, which kind of highlights that partnership thing that you were talking about earlier. I'm going to screen share your LinkedIn. So for those of you on YouTube, you're going to be able to see this. Welcome to my LinkedIn. This is what it looks like. Scary. Okay, but Kevin, you posted about a month ago about this very interesting like combination of partnership opportunity and RFP. I'm going to read it to the audience so that those who are listening can hear. PGA of America is looking for a stellar MSSP partner. I'm going to read it like this too, like I'm announcing like a TV show or something. This isn't a typical RFP. We're combining top-notch security services with unique marketing and partnership opportunities. We're talking all security ops. We're very cloud native. 24/7 managed SOC, comprehensive vulnerability management, deep integration with our dev teams. Here's the twist. We're also offering a chance to partner with PGA of America on a whole new level. Imagine your brand being showcased. Don't look at my email as it comes in. Imagine your brand being showcased across PGA Premier Championship events, digital platforms, case studies, hospitality, activations, media coverage, and designations like official supplier of the PGA Championship. Sounds like a win-win, right? If you're ready to ace this, reach out to purchasing email to get the full RFP and the details. For the right company, this could be an authentic partnership of a lifetime. You should have asked me to make a video for you for this because I feel like
good.
I'm a good, like weird, like carnival barker / announcer lady. But this honestly is so cool. This is the sort of like innovative thing that I would expect from an organization that deals with like media and members and people and promotions. Basically, what you were offering was, hey, we're looking for an MSSP partner in the first place, but also instead of just pure cash, we want to do some sort of barter promotion partnership as well. Am I reading that right?
And actually, I don't think we mentioned this earlier, but because of the two parts of our business, the Spectator Championships, that's where all the money comes from. Our revenue streams is basically two. We take an event like the PGA Championship or the Ryder Cup, we monetize that through the television rights, and we monetize that through our branding partnerships. And so those sponsorship model is literally the thing that funds the whole rest of the company.
That's amazing. So this is a big opportunity then for an MSSP to be involved, because this is like the heart of the business, like not the heart, right? The members are probably the heart, but this is the big money making part of it. It's all the advertising that you get if you're involved with PGA of America.
It's not uncommon for like sports organizations. I can speak generally on this because I've talked to them. What often there's a commercial team that will say, hey, here's a sponsorship that's kind of found us, or like whatever came from some agency, and it's got a technology component. What do you think? Could you find a way to use this technology, or are we already a customer, whatever the case is? And so all of my peers throughout sports have kind of this problem that the answer is usually no. Like that would be really, that would be a bunch of work. Bare minimum.
Right.
You can end up with companies that come across are like, hey, look, that's no, there's no way we're working with that company. And this is a chance for us to kind of flip the script and basically come at it and say, we know that this is important for us from both a cost and a revenue standpoint, and combine that with something that's authentic to be able to find a partner that is, and this is also the thing, when you get into these partnerships, it's usually more than a logo slap. Like you want to be able to tell amazing stories about how the brands work together and how it's authentic. And so we decided to sort of like start that from the very beginning to put together our first ever cyber partnership that includes both the technology components, the operational components, as well as the sponsorship side as well. Do that all in one package.
What was the impetus for this? So you guys have, it seems like you have done this in the past in other areas. Am I right? Or is this completely new?
Sure. We do it across like financial services. We do it in automotive. So Rolex is a sponsor. So there's all kinds of big brands that you'd recognize that are part of these events. But the integration into the company is just very different in technology.
Yeah.
As you can imagine, I mean, it would be hard to do a cyber sponsorship that doesn't have some kind of authentic story behind it. At the same time, we need to be necessarily selective about how we choose the partners that are there.
That's so cool. For Cyber Marketing Con, listener, if it's after December 11th, I'm sorry, you can't go to Cyber Marketing Con, but you could always catch a replay, because we actually have a really interesting talk this year by Casey Barnett, who is a marketing manager at MindPoint Group, which was acquired by Taito Athene. They did a partnership with the DC United soccer team over in DC. So if you want to hear more about partnerships and sponsoring and how cyber gets involved, even sports, DC United being that DC local soccer team, feel free to watch a replay or come to Cyber Marketing Con, held December 8th through 11th in the beautiful city of Philadelphia. That was my ad break. It wasn't bad, right? It kind of like put it right in there. So how's the RFP? Yeah, thank you. How's the RFP going?
Better than expected.
Whoa, what does that mean?
Well, it means we were flooded by initial responses. I guess social media works.
Well, who knew?
But, well, as we were originally going through, we kind of thought about who are the companies that we might initially want to work with. And, you put together a list of half a dozen companies. But what happened is that like that list just kept growing kind of as we would think about or discover or research or something like that. And it didn't appear to be slowing down. And so as we built up that list, it's kind of like, you know what, maybe we should just find a way to tell the industry that we're in the market. This type of arrangement is not for everybody. It's probably not for 9 out of 10 companies. And so even the 150 or so companies that got in touch with us, once they realized that this is actually expensive, and again, it's part of our business model, so and it's a big brand, so not surprising, it's also expensive. The number of like actual respondents came down quite a bit, but not nearly as much as I thought it was going to. So I didn't think we were going to get nearly as many people interested in the first wave And I didn't think we were going to get nearly as many organizations responding to the RFP itself. So that's great if you're us. It also means that we have had to, this is, I think, very healthy for our company. It's kind of brought different teams and departments together to be able to figure out what do we need in this part of our organization operationally? What do we need policy and legal and kind of compliance wise, all the way through to revenue and activations, and what are the actual marketing benefits to be had by the new partner. And what we've decided is that for every partner that gets kind of into the short list, we will end up building a bespoke marketing package that fits exactly what the respondents are looking for. Because at the end of the day, like, we have a fair amount of flexibility to do different marketing activations, marketing collaborations, and hospitality, and access and tickets, and money can't buy events, and those kinds of things that are valuable to some companies and not valuable to others. This is kind of the weird thing about these marketing packages. It's not like it's not a SKU with a price and you're just kind of done. You get what you get. We want to do everything we can to make sure that it helps our partners achieve their goals.
Love it. And it's interesting saying all of this is really high touch. Like, once you get down to the finalists, it's really high touch, right? You're building custom packages, and yet you had 150 inquiries, 150 plus like people interested. How are you, from a procurement perspective, sort of like whittling that down? Because one, it's great. It's great that you got so many, but two, for the internal team, wow, 150 RFPs to review is a lot. And to whittle that down sounds like a necessity. So what are some of the things that you've done?
There's a few things. There's a handful of companies that came at it like not very thoughtful. We have a specific thing. We're like in this one part of the cyber world, and we want to be the partner who sells this thing, and like didn't even read the fact that there's a 6 or 7 figure commitment. Those things go by pretty quickly. Like I said, it's not for 9 out of 10 companies. And even some companies didn't realize when they responded. So I'll share with you, and you were right earlier saying that I'm pretty into AI, but we were able to use AI as a real friend to work through a real problem. And like, one of the problems was we got over 900 questions that came in during the Q&A period.
Oh.
And unfortunately, these are not like yes and no questions.
No, of course not. These are like, here are very specific questions that are going to help me respond to you best.
Yeah, exactly. Out of the 900 questions, what we ended up doing, we use Google Sheets, and inside of there, we have kind of this homegrown AI thing. And so we used that to categorize all of the questions. So like, which are the questions that are really about process? And then those go to our procurement team. Which are the questions that are about the sponsorship and the marketing and the benefits and those kind of things and tickets and all that stuff? So that goes to our sponsorships team. Which are the ones that are about cyber? Which are the ones that are kind of unrelated or about vendors? So we were able to just like take these things, and I know this sounds like a dumb thing, but just to read 900 different questions and figure out what category they fall into takes work. So we were able to do that in 30 seconds, which is great. And then that kind of parses it out for who has to work on what inside the team. But then the other thing we were able to do is that, so we just started writing answers. We answered the first 10 questions. We put that back into our internal AI kind of knockoff version of ChatGPT that we have here. So we put in that, we put in all of the RFP, we put in a bunch of information about kind of our setup and our architecture and that thing. So then we said, okay, so here's the 11th question, and let it have a shot at answering it. And if it got it right, or if it got it close, we put it in, we tweak it. And so you do these things, and it would get maybe, let's say, half of the answer right, just because part of it's just words. And, we had given it enough information to get, we gave it enough to get started. You're building up 11, 12, 13, 20, 30 of these things. And every time it's looking at all of the answers that you've given to answer future questions. So the more questions that have been answered and verified by a human, then the more likely it is that the next question can get answered more by the AI.
Exactly. You're training it as you answer the questions is what I'm hearing.
Yep, exactly right. We did that all through prompting without like having to retrain the model, but it's fast and it's accurate, and it helped us get through things. It also helped us find, did we answer this question consistently? So maybe the same type of question was asked in 6 different ways by 6 different companies. Did we give them all like a fair and honest and consistent answer? So it helped us to identify those things and find them. So it's just a way to use technology to help with volume. And I'm sure a lot of people listening have put ChatGPT to work in terms of some RFP response on the other side of it too. This, again, was one of scale. It was pretty neat.
That is awesome. That is so cool. What did you use to build that AI tool?
We lean pretty heavily currently on OpenAI. There's a neat little trick that if you pay for Microsoft or Google or OpenAI to buy their kind of consumer or enterprise chat service, it's anywhere from like $20 to $30 list price per user per month. However, if you pay someone overseas to create a user interface that looks exactly the same, and then it uses the API to call the exact same model in the backend at OpenAI, you can, in our case, we can operate that at about 93% less than it would cost us to pay the per seat per user cost per user per month. And the other thing is that these costs on a monthly basis tend to stay the same, but the per token costs when you use the API, these are the ones that everyone's saying AI is getting cheaper because every few months those keep coming down. So it's 93% less as of today, and it's only going to get better.
That is so cool. Thank you.
This sort of makes the point of like why it's good to have software engineers on your team is because you can do stuff like that as opposed to just like, well, okay, so I guess it's going to cost us $30 per user per month, and like we're just stuck with it.
We got 50 people here. Yeah. Oh, that is so cool. Okay. Quick plug for Cyber Marketing Con. So, do you want to learn how to build your own AI tools? Come to our workshop. Bruno Baldo of Rainforest Technologies will be giving a workshop. It's on Tuesday. It's during the conference, Cyber Marketing Con. Get your ticket at cybermarketingconference.com. He will be hosting a workshop on how to build your own AI tools. We all know that AI tools are awesome and cool, but once you start adding those $20, $30, $50 per month subscriptions, it gets to be a lot. And for small teams, that can be unaffordable. Bruno has a way to use a small amount of subscriptions to get a lot of value. So make sure to come on to this workshop, build your own AI tools, how to get the most efficient spend and build your own awesome toolbox.
Yeah, that was a great segue.
I am AI. I can do the links. Thank you. All right. So last thing I want to chat about, because we are running out of time and we're having so much fun talking, and we did a wonderful segue into AI, which is so cool. We'll have to have you back, Kevin, for sure. All right. So your RFP, you're whittling it down. What does this look like for you now? The process. When do you guys I want this to air. It won't probably, but I want it to air and then be able to be like, yay, they picked it. Woo! It was this vendor. Big announcement, huge push, like lots of press. What is the RFP? How's it going? You're not finalized. What's it in sort of like your vision, your timeline? Where is that heading?
We're probably still a couple months out from really being done with it. And it goes a lot to the fact that every one of these is going to be some bespoke marketing package. Mm-hmm. We just finished our Q&A period at this point. And now we're waiting for actual proposals to come in. We want to get it right rather than get it fast.
Absolutely. So you have RFI and then questions and RFP, and you have like a long process to get there. And of course, like you said at the end, there'll be bespoke negotiations between probably down selected handful of vendors that are potentially going to make it. So if I had to guess, I used to do proposals for IBM.
Yeah. I bet that was fun.
No, that was awful. Help make some money, but that was awful. That was fun. No offense to proposal listeners. Hey, are you coming to Cyber Marketing Con? Because on Monday, December 9th, Hillary Coover, who is now at AWS, congratulations, Hillary, on your new job. She is giving a proposal workshop for you to learn how to do great proposals specifically geared towards national security and the federal government. That's right. Are you a cybersecurity solution or services provider targeting NatSec or GovCon or government or federal or public sector? We at Cyber Marketing Con, Monday, December 9th, is our GovCon and public sector track. And part of that track is an amazing workshop by Hillary Coover, where she will be sharing how she finds free sources of data and intelligence from the federal government. Instead of paying for all these proposal sources, RFP sources, you can collect your own and create a script to create it and collect it in one spot for you to be able to find amazing RFPs and tenders to respond to as a vendor. Okay, that's my last plug. We're just keep touching on all the things. So I'm so sorry, Kevin. Kevin didn't expect all these plugs. And now I'm just like, we're like in an advertorial. All of a sudden we're like doing, I feel like the guy who did ShamWow. ShamWow. Yeah, there we go. All right, Kevin, this has been so fun. The last part of our podcast, and I'm so excited that I don't have a co-host because it means I'm going to win, is our game. Yeah, we play a game. It's me against nobody. So I'm automatically winning.
I like your chances here.
Thank you. What we do is we guess, or just me, we guess what you'd be doing if you weren't in cyber. And we also have to cross off any of your previous roles. So here's what's not on the book for you. Can't be IT, can't be software development, can't be cyber. I'm going to cross golf off. So if you were going to be a pro golfer in a past life, that can't count. Think of something else. And then I'm also going to cross off entrepreneur, because I feel like that would be the easiest one, given that you've been a product developer, product owner, and that was my go-to in my head while we were talking. But so I'm going to pick something completely off base. Are there any other secret careers you've had that can't be like chosen or it's cheating?
Well, if I do, that you don't know them, so
Fabulous.
I think it's all fair game.
Okay. Kevin Scott, you would be in a band. You would be in a band.
What would I play?
Drums. Am I right? I'm not right. I don't know if you're doing poker face or just telling me clearly that I am so bad at this.
I love music. I have played in a band. Been a long time. Yeah.
Wait, what did you play in the band?
Singing and keyboard.
Although
since then I now play guitar too. But I mean, considering you're competing with nobody, I think you should just take the W.
Okay. Thank you. Yay, one. Cheers sounds. Editor, please. All right. So Kevin, what would you actually be doing if you could not be what you're doing today and you were not in a band?
Driving a race car sounds pretty all right to me. Also, I have a secret history that before there was Wi-Fi on airplanes, I used to fire up Excel on my laptop. I used to fly international a lot. So I'd sit down, have my dinner, and then I would fire up Microsoft Excel and press F1. It used to be the instruction manual. And I just flip to some random page and I would learn something new about Excel. I just like spreadsheets.
Are you in the Excel Olympics or Excel Olympics? Have you seen that? Have you ever watched those?
No, it sounds tremendous.
There is, oh my God, hold on. Wait, don't leave yet. Okay. You will love this or you won't like it. I don't know. My husband and I watch this. There's literally a spreadsheet Olympics that exists that is like a live stream, high production event where people compete to do spreadsheet activities as fast as possible.
I don't know. So that's the offline days where I would go if I was to nerd out on something. And I guess AI is off the table, but that's where I'd really be right now.
Okay, I found it. It's the Microsoft Excel World Championships.
Wow.
You sound less enthused than I expected, but based on what you told me about the plane.
that sounds like a job. I like spreadsheets for fun.
Okay, but you'd be developing something in AI or doing AI cool stuff too. So
totally.
Race car driver, AI, like guy, guru on the side, which you already are. So
yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Kevin, for being on the show today. Where can people reach out to you if you want to be reached out?
Hit me up on LinkedIn. Might as well mention the show because otherwise I'll just ignore your note. I get a lot of messages on LinkedIn, but if it's got a connection, then I'll read it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show. Thanks for handling the commercials and the zaniness on occasion that comes out here. We really appreciate you being on and had a great time talking about your story and about PGA of America, and look forward to seeing what brand and what company you guys choose to work with. And when you have done it, come back on. We could do you and them or PGA of America and them on Breaking Through in Cybersecurity Marketing. Happy to be part of your PR push.
Yeah, how it started and how it's going.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Gianna.
All right, listener. This was Breaking Through in Cybersecurity Marketing on the N2K Cyberwire Network. We have a new episode drop every week. And of course, we want to hear your thoughts. Do you hate this show? Why are you listening? That's weird. But if you don't, please leave some stars for us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, or wherever else you listen to podcasts. We hope to see you at Cyber Marketing Con in person or virtual. We also live stream it around the globe in case you're not able to make it to Philadelphia this year. And of course, send us your thoughts, feedback, comments. What do you want to see on Breaking Through in Cybersecurity Marketing? We build this podcast for you. Have a great week.